Hey everyone, and welcome to NFL Nexus. We're jumping right in today with a really high-stakes standoff that's brewing in Indianapolis. Seriously, the Colts are on the clock, and they've got this massive decision to make about their starting quarterback, Daniel Jones. And time is running out. They are walking this financial tightrope, between locking up their guy for the future and the very real, very scary possibility of losing him for absolutely nothing. It is classic NFL front office drama, and we are going to break down every single angle for you.
And this slide right here, this really is the whole ballgame. This is the question that I guarantee keeps general managers up at night. How in the world do you keep your most important player, a quarterback who has shown you he can be the guy, without totally crippling your salary cap for the next 5 years? It's this giant puzzle of asset management, risk assessment, and just high-stakes negotiation. And right now, the Colts are staring at all the scattered pieces on the table.
And to really feel the tension here, just look at this quote from NFL insider Adam Schefter. 50-50. It's a coin flip. This isn't just your normal off-season back and forth where, the two sides are a few $1,000,000 apart. Nope. This tells you they might not even be on the same page for a long-term deal at all. And look at that timeline. The deadline isn't next week, it's tomorrow. The pressure is absolutely on, and this thing is coming right down to the wire.
All right, so to really get a handle on just how heavy this decision is, we need to kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Why is this contract for this player so incredibly important for Indianapolis? Well, this isn't just about one guy or one contract. It's about the Colts' long and, let's be honest, often frustrating search for some stability at the most important position in all of sports.
You really don't have to look back very far to see why this is so critical. Since 2019, the Colts have been on a quarterback carousel. It's just been this revolving door of veteran stopgaps, a constant search for that one long-term answer you can build an entire franchise around. And Daniel Jones, he was the first player in years who really looked like he could be that solution, the one to finally stop the spinning. Losing him now? Man, that would mean stepping right back onto that carousel. And that is a place this front office and this fan base desperately want to leave behind.
Okay, so let's look at the numbers, because this is why the Colts are in such a tough spot. Before he got hurt in 2025, Jones was playing at a really, really high level. Just check out these stats. A career-best 68% completion rate. That is incredibly efficient. Over 3,100 passing yards in just 13 games. He was on pace for well over 4,000, and he threw 19 touchdowns to only 8 picks, which shows great decision-making. Oh, and he was a threat on the ground too, with almost 170 yards and another 5 rushing touchdowns. This is the player the Colts believe they have, and it's the one they are absolutely desperate to keep.
But, and it's a big but, here is the problem. This is the reason they haven't just handed him a blank check. His 2025 season was cut short by a torn Achilles. That is a devastating injury for any athlete, but it's especially scary for a quarterback who can move. And that's not all. We know he's also dealt with a fractured fibula and other dings in his 7 years in the league. This injury history, it's like the ghost in the negotiating room, and it's forcing the Colts to ask a really tough question. Can we commit 9 figures in guaranteed money to a guy with this kind of medical file?
So if a long-term deal is really a coin flip, what are the Colts' backup plans? Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. The NFL's rulebook, the collective bargaining agreement, it gives teams a couple of interesting and pretty complex options to keep a player without a multi-year contract. So now we're going to break down the 2 key contract tags they can use, the franchise tag and the transition tag.
So at a really high level, these are the 2 paths. Over on the left, you've got the franchise tag. Think of this as the ultimate control option. It's a powerful 1-year contract that basically says to the player, sorry buddy, you're not going anywhere, it's expensive as heck, but it buys the team time and it completely eliminates all outside competition. Then on the right, you have the transition tag. This is the more subtle play. It's a cheaper 1-year deal, but it comes with a major catch. It opens the door for other teams to get involved. Now, according to reports, the Colts are giving real consideration to using the transition tag, so we're going to really zoom in on that one. It's a way riskier path, right? So you have to ask, why would a team even think about it when they could just lock their player down? Well, as always in the NFL, it all comes down to a calculated balance of money, control, and risk. The most important phrase here is right of first refusal. This is the key power the transition tag gives to the Colts. It means that if another team, say the Vikings, signs Daniel Jones to a contract, the Colts get to see that entire contract, every dollar, every guarantee. And they have the final say. They can look at it and decide, yep, we'll match that, or nope, you can have him. But that second part is so critical, no draft compensation. If they say no, he's just gone, for nothing.
Now this slide shows us the official language from the NFL, which gets into the nitty-gritty of the money. Let's just break it down real simple. PYS just stands for prior year salary. The player's 1 year salary on the tag is the higher of two numbers. Option A is the average of the top 10 highest paid guys at his position. Option B is just a 20% raise on what he made last year. For a top quarterback like Jones, you can bet it's almost always going to be option A that sets the price, which is still a massive payday for 1 year.
Let's walk through how this would actually play out, because the timeline is so important. First, the Colts apply the tag before the deadline. Boom! Jones is now a transition player. Then, things get really interesting. Jones and his agent can talk to all 31 other teams, and they can actively shop for a better long-term deal. If they get one, they sign what's called an offer sheet. The moment that sheet is signed, a 5-day clock starts ticking for Indianapolis. They have exactly 5 days to decide if they're willing to match that offer. Penny for penny. If they match, he stays. If they don't, he's gone.
This table really puts it all into perspective. Look at player control. With the franchise tag, he has basically none. With the transition tag, he can go find his own market. Now, team control. Franchise tag gives them exclusive rights, but the transition tag only gives them the right to match an offer. Okay, now cost. This is a huge one. The franchise tag is calculated from the average of the top 5 salaries at the position. The transition tag uses the top 10. That makes it significantly cheaper. But now look at that last row, compensation. With a non-exclusive franchise tag, if another team signs your player and you can't match it, you get 2 first-round draft picks back. That's a massive safety net. But with the transition tag, if you don't match, you get absolutely nothing. 0. That is the gamble.
So let's put some real hard numbers to this and break down the gamble the Colts are actually considering. Because this isn't just about abstract ideas like draft picks and control. It's about millions and millions of dollars in salary cap space and how that affects building an entire 53-man roster. This is where the rubber really meets the road on this massive decision.
Okay, so according to projections, this is the cost of the franchise tag for a quarterback. Almost $44 million for one player, for one season. That is a massive chunk of your salary cap that you can't spend on an edge rusher, a starting cornerback, or depth on your offensive line. It is the safe option for sure, but safety has a very, very high price tag. Now here's the projected cost for the transition tag, just under $38 million. You can immediately see the appeal for the Colts front office, can't you? In a league with a hard salary cap, where every single dollar is accounted for, that difference is absolutely substantial.
So the bottom line is the difference. A savings of over $6 million. And listen, that's not chump change. That's enough to go out and sign a quality starting linebacker or a solid number 2 receiver. It gives their GM, Chris Ballard, real flexibility. But that savings comes at a steep, steep price, and it's paid for with an enormous amount of risk.
And let's just hammer this home one more time, because it is the single most important factor in this entire equation. If the Colts use the transition tag, and another team signs Jones to an offer sheet that Ballard and the front office decide is just too rich for their blood, Jones walks. And the Colts get nothing back. No player, no money, and absolutely 0 draft picks. It is a potentially catastrophic, franchise-altering downside.
So that brings us to the most obvious question, right? Is this risk even real? I mean, you have to wonder if the Colts are thinking, hey, who's really going to break the bank for a QB coming off an Achilles tear? So let's explore the potential market for Daniel Jones, because if there's no real market out there for him, then there's no real risk. But if there is, well, the Colts could be playing with fire.
You could definitely make the argument that this is a very safe, calculated bet by the Colts. You know, that other GMs will see those medical reports, the Achilles tear, the fractured fibula, and just be too scared to commit the kind of guaranteed money that would force Indy to back down. And on the surface, that's a pretty plausible argument. Maybe the risk isn't as big as it seems.
But that line of thinking, it really overlooks a fundamental truth of the modern NFL. Quarterback is the ultimate scarcity. There are not 32 legitimate starting caliber quarterbacks on planet Earth. It's just not a thing. Teams will spend years, even decades, searching for one. So if a player who has already shown he can perform at a high level becomes available, even with injury concerns, you better believe desperate teams will absolutely line up to take a shot.
And this isn't just some theory. There are specific teams out there with clear quarterback needs that could easily be in the market for a player just like Jones. The Vikings, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, these are all franchises in different stages of team building who could look at Jones and see him as their answer. And it only takes one
One rival GM could get clever, craft a front-loaded offer sheet, a so-called poison pill contract, specifically designed to be difficult for the Colts to match, and Indy's entire strategy could just blow up in their face.
So as that deadline gets closer and closer, this is what it all boils down to. It's a high-stakes game of chicken with franchise-altering consequences. Do the Colts play it safe with the more expensive franchise tag, guaranteeing Jones is back for 2026? Or do they roll the dice on the transition tag, hoping to save some cap space while betting that no other team will call their bluff? It is a legacy-defining decision for that front office.
And that is our deep dive into the Colts' huge decision. Thanks so much for watching. I really want to know, what do you think they should do? Let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this explainer, please be sure to like and subscribe to NFL Nexus for more. And hey, a quick way you can help support the channel is by checking out our coloring books. They're great for all ages. You can find the link right in the description, or just scan the QR code on your screen now. We'll see you next time.